DHT.
There was a guy named Billy Bob who lived in an abandoned town of Romania where you don't want to go down, want to drive to get there, but you have to get there to get to your destination. And Billy Bob made his money through creative ways. His primary job was being an attraction in a traveling circus, himself having only 3 fingers, in each hand like a crab, and only one leg. He appreciated the smaller towns where people who lived very slow lives because that is where he knew that he would have a great deal of business. No, mind you, most of the towns he was in did not have internet, and a traveling circus was a pretty big deal. When they had come around, word would spread far and wide, and neighborhood towns would be also wanting to visit. Billy Bob was someone who did not have a healthy look on life. As a matter of fact, he despised his very existence. He never fit in with the regular folks of the village near harbor. Billy always wondered why he had to be born this way with 3 fingers on each hand like a crab and only one leg. He was always frustrated and sad because of his appearance. Billy would not find any peace with himself or even outside himself. Billy isolated the people in his life who somewhat cared for him having a general bad attitude. He would go into fits of rage because of his hatred and physical looks, in fact, that he was missing a limb or two. One day, he ran into the forest, a place where he found comfortable, because there was hardly anyone ever there, of stories of strange animals and beasts, and there, where in the forest he could always walk around and get closer to some level of peace. He lied down by a specific spot where he would always go and try to calm down. Only this time he heard some rustling. His ears perked up. This was strange. People never walked over here. He hid behind a large bush, immediately realizing what had happened. It was someone who was lost. Billy had 2 options here. He could help them, or he could stay hidden. He decided that he would help because at times he would try to be a good person. He stepped from the bushes and called out, "Who's there?" The lost person, a young woman, responded and said, "It's Georgina. Who are you?" She asked, seeing not him but seeing the dark, said, "It's Billy. I am someone who lives nearby. Are you all right?" Georgina said, "No, I'm lost." He said, "Where are you from?" Georgina said. She said, "This is a few towns over, and I didn't know how she ended up here." She was running away from home because she was fed up with it. But then he slowly approached, and she saw him from the moonlight for the first time, and she shrieked. And that boiled Billy's blood. Here he was choosing to be a good person, and this is what he gets. He didn't know what to do. What had happened next, over the half hour, when all this was said and done, Georgina was laying on the floor, bloodied and no longer conscious. At first, Billy didn't know what to do, to think. This was starting to confuse, and he looked at Georgina and wondered what happened to her. Then he finally came to, out of his black state. Then he realized what he had done. He immediately felt bad and then remembered what caused it to happen, and he wondered if he had done anything wrong. Billy had a strange idea what skinned Georgina. Sure, the skin stayed in the same way by using his ointments that he had at his house and that he would have, and he thought maybe a trophy. This thought made him smile, and that this excited. What he did, he used his knife he always carried with him to skin Georgina's body. Then he kept it in a safe in his home, and the rest of the body he took it to further into the forest and covered it on a blanket, leaves and branches and other materials. Billy knew that was the strange beast would take care of the rest. But when Billy woke up the next day, he was feeling pretty good. He went on doing what he normally did for a few weeks before he wanted to do it again. Billy thought about it and found that the best way to do it again was a private show with a selected lucky people in each circus show. He lured the people back in his trailer for a private show, and the last participant who didn't have a family or anyone else with them was the one that would see their last show of their lives. He would hypnotize them, drug them, and get them into a mental state that he was in the first time in the forest. Before he knew it, he would have another one skinned and added to his jar as a part of his collection. As his collection added up, he was beginning to run out of room with stories in his trailer, so he began to put them under his trapdoor in his trailer to make room. Then he began to build a second trapdoor room where he would later find out that he had child with one of his surviving victims, and she would later begin to learn his ways of skinning people. And it's said that they're still out there among the circus today. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe.